Carlos Thomas Jr., a real threat to the Arnold Classic? Plus, Hany Rambod, is he actually retired? All that, plus much more.
I never said I'm going to stop training people.
What's up, Desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back finally for another bodybuilding news video. And let's kick this one off with Hany Rambod. Is he actually retired or not? So on the latest episode of the Truth podcast, which is Hany Rambod's podcast on the Hany Rambod YouTube channel, link to the full videos in the description below, he outlined what he actually is doing now and if he's actually retired or not from coaching. So here's what he had to say on the latest episode.
I'm constantly thinking in the backhand, it's like a hum, I call it like a war drum that's going on during prep. But during workouts, I never said I'm going to stop training people. I just said I can't do that high level Olympia prep because I shut everything off. I shut off so many parts of my family, parts of my business, everything, because I'm trying to stay super focused. And I've been doing it for over 30 years.
So Hany's been at this game a long time, and he has worked with the top of the top. So he had, for many years, Chris Bumstead, Hardy Chupin, Derek Lunsford. That's not to mention some of the other men's physique guys and other competitors that he had as well. And Hany is one of those guys that's all in. So the fact that he mentions about the constant hum, he's continually thinking about these athletes that he's actually prepping to get on stage. It's not like he's working with, 20, 30 amateur competitors and they can, deal with a certain amount of attention. Guys at the very top, there's a lot of money on the line, especially now, with 600,000 at the Olympia, 500,000 at the Arnold. And then you got shows like Dubai and Pittsburgh now, which are offering 100,000 plus. So I get that from Hany because it's a lot of pressure. Plus, having guys going up against each other is another level of pressure. He's dealt with it before, working with Jay and Phil, but this is sort of another level and it's year after year as well. So let's listen to what else he has to say.
And now the evolution to that is being able to work with many more people and getting in the gym, helping them, breaking down body parts, workouts, just even diet, supplements, talking about philosophies that I have in a much more open audience, because I'm not trying to just focus on 3 people trying to win the Olympia like I was in the past. So now with this evolution to my coaching, it's going to be information like this that I'm going to be able to share with you.
And it's actually beneficial to everyone watching this as well, because Hany is going to be able to put out more YouTube content. I even noticed he has been of late. He's worked with guys like Sean Clarita, Urs Kalachinsky, in very short bursts, like with coming into his gym and training or being on the road and training and doing things like that. But then he's able to discuss, diet stuff and other things with these guys as well. Now, it could lead to him stepping on the toes of other coaches, maybe, but I don't think so. I think the guys that go to work with Hany, the coaches that they already have know that this is just a supplementary thing. But you don't want too many cooks in the kitchen as well. But I really like this from Hany, and it wouldn't surprise me if CBum actually made a comeback in 2026 in the open class, and that's Hany's return to coaching. And at least at that point as well, from dropping all his clients or all his major clients, then he's able to pick and choose who he works with. And I don't think that Hany would want the stress of working with 2 top open Mr. Olympia competitors again, sort of like what Chris Aceto is doing now with Andrew Jack and Derek Lunsford, especially if Andrew Jack makes that ascendancy to one of the top spots in the Olympia from that sort of 5th place position. So watch this space, but I think Hany in some capacity will be back coaching someone at some stage in the future. In our next story, we have an update from Brett the Butcher Wilkin. You can see him there in the middle of the screen, 274 pounds. I'm not entirely sure which show Brett is doing at this stage. You can see there on the left, that's him at the Legion from last year. Supremely conditioned physique that he brought to the stage. I was super impressed. And you can see a comparison there of a front lat spread. And it seems like Brett's added a little extra thickness to that physique where he's going to be able to come in, hopefully, a little bit bigger, because Brett looked fantastic, I thought, at the Legion last year. He beat a really good and really big guy in Bruno Santos, who actually qualified for the 2024 Mr. Olympia. And he just has such a clean look, such a clean physique. If Brett can maintain that, which he appears to be doing, the waist still seems super tight, super small, and he has those same proportions with just that bit extra mass, it puts Brett Wilkin in good stead for the 2025 bodybuilding season and competing in his first Mr. Olympia. I believe what Brett said was that he's maybe going to do something prior to the Olympia as a bit of a warm-up show, come into that, and then obviously do his Olympia debut, which I'm very, very excited for. Let me know in the comments how you think Brett will do in 2025. Will he crack the top 10 of the Olympia? Can he move even higher as well? Now, in our next update, we have a 300-pound update here from Ren Grimes. He said, took this photo a week ago after being sick and on antibiotics for a week. I've had a great week of training and physique has come alive much more already. Prep starts for New York Pro tomorrow. Let's go 18 weeks out, 300 pounds. I can't wait to compete this year. That's exciting as well because Regan now, I believe he's working with Stefan, boss of Outlaw. Previously worked with Milos Sarchev. I don't believe he's been with Milos for some time right now, but he is looking really, really good. And under the guidance of Stefan, it'll be very interesting to see if Regan makes, sizable improvements, if the conditioning comes in better, just sort of how it works for his physique. So I'm very excited to see Ren Grimes at that 2025 New York Pro, which is starting to look like a really, really good lineup as well. And I think a lot of the guys that do Pittsburgh will do New York as well because they're only a couple of weeks apart, I believe it is. Now we've got an update from another guy who hopefully will be competing a little later in 2025 in Antoine Vaillant, looking noticeably bigger to me. In this side chest update, he mentions the dad bod, but he's far from having a dad bod right now. And Antoine's one of those guys that's sort of criminally underrated on the IFBB Pro League scene. Now, he hasn't competed, I believe, since the 2023 Arnold Classic. Maybe he did a show after that. I can't quite remember, but I thought he looked really, really damn good there. And he brought his physique in nice in terms of like the waist being really small. The posing was sensational. You could definitely make an argument for him winning the Best Poser award. And yeah, I'm just excited for what's come from Antoine Vaillant as well. And you can check him out. And I'm often on the podcast on IFBB AMA. Go check it out. I'll put a link in the description below where you can check out all the videos. I've been putting out videos, podcasts with Lee Priest, all that sort of stuff. So the link to that is in the description below for the full episodes on IFBB AMA. Now, Michal Krizo has put up a recent update. I believe he's doing New York as well. So he'll be head-to-head against Ren Grimes, and he is looking enormous once again. Now, Michal Krizo always has freaky updates when he's looking at his best, but you can see he obviously had that surgery. I believe it was a torn bicep, and he seems to have bounced back absolutely perfectly because you look at that arm in that sort of first update there with his surgeon, I believe, and you look at it now, you can see one of them is off and one of them is right on, and he has gained all that muscle back and then some potentially. So I'm excited to see what Michal Krizo brings in 2025. This guy is a top 10 Mr. Olympia competitor, and I think he can get back there once again. Can he take that next step and move into the group of guys in that top 5? Remains to be seen, but I'm looking forward to seeing if Michal Krizo can do it in 2025. Now we move to Classic Physique, and probably the favorite going into the 2025 Classic Physique Olympia, but he's competing well before that in 7 weeks at the 2025 Arnold Classic, and that's Mike Sommerfeld, looking enormous here. This update is the one from a few days ago that really shocked me at 7 weeks out of that Arnold Classic, and seeing it, I'm like, how is this guy going to make weight? But the weight limit has been increased in Classic Physique in the last, 12 to 18 months. So for Mike, I think that he'll be able to make the weight, no doubt. He's working with Neil Hill, as he traditionally does, and I don't think he'll have a problem there. But looking at this photo, I'm like, dude's going to have a problem. But I think he'll do whatever it takes to get down in weight. In this photo here, you can see maybe he's not quite to the level of those open guys in terms of mass just yet, but it sort of excites me in a way. And if Mike doesn't win that Classic Physique Olympia title and maybe struggles for a couple of years to win that title, then we could definitely see him move to the open at some stage. And I think he's got the physique to do it as well. I would love to see this sort of physique with another 10 pounds going into the open class. And I think it's one of those physiques that we saw it with C-Bum. He did very well with that bit of extra mass. I think Mike Sommerfeld is destined for the open class. As long as he doesn't win that title and win multiple Classic Physique Olympia titles, I think that he has a physique that's destined for the open class with a really aesthetic, crazy, dimensional look to his physique because he has the tiny waist, the huge lats that flare out. Just overall a big fan of Mike Sommerfeld, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings in 2025. Now on to a guy who's potentially making the switch to Classic Physique in your men's physique Mr. Olympia champion in Ryan Terry. So on the latest episode of Beyond the Stage, or an upcoming episode, of Beyond the Stage TV, here's what he had to say.
I want to know I've got a chance of winning. I'm not somebody who's just going to have a bit of fun out there. I'd be taking it deadly serious. Would it be worth doing? I don't know. If it was a bit of fun, put some budgie smugglers on and have a go. You never say never. But yeah, I might get the legs out one time before I retire.
One thing I really like about all the different classes down the IFBB Pro League is that guys can make those switches. Like the classes are close enough where they can take 1 year out, or not even that. In the case of Seabum, while he didn't beat Martin, and he could have been better with more time, he still beat Sean Clarita. He still beat Horse MD and a bunch of really good open names. So it goes to show that a guy like Mike Sommerfeld can make that switch to open. A guy like Ryan Terry can make that switch to classic physique. And Ryan Terry has a fantastic physique. They don't always come together, transition from one to the other. Physique might not flow from head to toe perfectly, but Ryan Terry has a great physique. I'm a huge fan of him, and I'm looking forward to seeing if at some stage he moves to that classic physique, but I don't think it'll be in the next couple of years. Now, William Bonac has posted up his latest physique update, and I'm really impressed because one sort of knock on William Bonac in recent years is that the legs maybe have lost a little bit. To me, they're looking really, really round here. So William Bonac at 7 weeks out of that Arnold Classic, he's one of those guys, but I'm probably going to predict lower than he places for whatever reason. Just because you sort of make predictions based on guys being at their best or being near their potential. And William Bonac is just going to come in consistent. I think he's going to come in shredded. They've really found a good, I suppose, balance working with Stefan, boss of Outlaw, just another guy who's working with him. And yeah, I'm excited for William Bonac of his 2025 Arnold Classic. And I think he's going to bring in a really good physique and maybe even something better than last year. And last year at the Olympia, he plays pretty well. I believe he's 7th place. So William Bonac, I think I'm going to have to push him up on my predictions because I just have a feeling that he's going to exceed expectations and beat some guys that maybe he shouldn't even beat at this stage of his career. Here we've got an update from a guy that William Bonac will be competing against at that 2025 Arnold Classic in Carlos Thomas Jr. This dude is a complete freak. You look at this front double bicep, the dimensions are insane. The waist is like so tiny. The arms are blown up huge. The chest is huge. The legs, the quads are super round, massive. He's got aesthetics on a shorter frame with a ton of muscle. And Carlos isn't, 5'3" or anything like that. He sort of can look that, or you assume that by individual photos. But he's not that short. He is shorter, but he's not that short. So Carlos at his pro debut, I believe it was the 2022 Texas Pro, was it? 2023 Texas Pro, sorry. He wasn't in the condition that we need to see Carlos Thomas Jr. in to mix things up in this Arnold Classic lineup. He wasn't in like bad condition, but it just wasn't there enough. If Carlos can bring his physique in like that, working with Patrick Tuer, who's a guy that's known for conditioning, if he can do that, it's going to be a very, very impressive Carlos Thomas Jr. He's not only doing the Arnold Classic 2 in 7 weeks, he's also doing the Detroit Pro as well. So there's a bit of a gap there. So I assume he and Patrick will pull back a little bit and maybe go again. And for Carlos, he's got ulcerative colitis too, where you can have flare-ups, you can hold extra fluid from it, and you can really have some issues. I hope for Carlos' sake that they're able to, avoid any sort of issues with that. And I think that's been a good reason for him to stay off the stage for a little bit, get his body fresh, and it seems to be responding really well by the latest updates. And the conditioning you can see in that video as well is really, really good. But overall, I am so impressed with Carlos Thomas Jr. Can he crack like a top 3 and can he win the Arnold Classic this year? I don't believe so. I don't think he's there quite yet, but I'd love for him to prove me wrong. I just don't know if he'll be able to detail his back end to the level he needs to beat like a Derek Lunsford or something. But I'm more than open to Carlos Thomas Jr. actually surprising me at this show. But even if he's a year or 2 away from that, and we've got to remember as well, Derek Lunsford was your 2023 Mr. Olympia. Andrew Jack was seen as a contender to win the Olympia last year, and Samson won the Olympia. This is a very, very tough lineup. But outside of those guys, I think Carlos Thomas Jr. can beat anyone here. And with the, I suppose, the asterisk that he could beat one of those guys if they miss their mark as well. So that's huge praise for Carlos Thomas Jr. Where will he land? I don't know. I honestly have no clue. The Arnold Classic from 4th place down to pretty much last is super close in terms of these competitors. You've got great guys like Akeem Williams. You've got Carlos Thomas Jr., William Bonac, who we mentioned before, Brandon Curry. How can we forget? Multiple-time Arnold Classic champion and Mr. Olympia. So it's going to be tough, but Carlos Thomas Jr. looks fantastic right now. He looks right on point. He's got a great coach. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does at this contest. But anyway, guys, that's it for this one. My name's Xavier Wills. This is Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are out.